So, hi guys, welcome back. So, we are going to do geometric progression, and essentially, I think if you have searched for this intentionally, you know what geometric progression is. I'd like you to assume that you do, but I'll just give us a short recap of what it is now. Geometric progression is a form of progression in math that essentially does this. It's like a series that moves from a number to number with a common ratio. Now, the common ratio can be out of multiplication or addition or subtraction, but it is out of a sign per se of math, give or take that reasoning. So this one is like 2 raised to power 2 is 4, 2 raised to power 3 is 8, 2 raised to power 4 is 16, and 2 raised to power 5 is 32, and going forth. Now, this is basically saying here, this is 2, this is 4, 8, and this is 16. Now, in case you feel I'm going a bit fast, you can pause the video and go and read a bit more on geometric progression. It's not hard. There's like the basic stuff, and it's giving you the most common example. So everything here essentially adds up to this point. Now, this is t, and t term, the nth term, is essentially a1, which here we mentioned as 2, raised to the power r, which is the common ratio, to the nth term minus 1. This is the formula you shall use, and this is what you need to remember. Now, that being said, we shall comment it and keep it at the back of your mind. Now, before I go on, I hope you had watched the Fibonacci video, and I really apologize on the audio. I was still like testing out waters and about that. I wasn't kind of really prepared, but what not, this one I got you guys. So we're just going to go straight into it. We're going to say import, import math. Very good. Now, this is a library built into the Python code that is already, I'm using Visual Studio, so it's a library in Python. So we're going to define a function. So I'm going to call my function GP. So we're going to say def GP, and we are going to give it parameters. We're going to say x, comma space y, comma space n. Now, x is the first term, y is the common ratio, and n is the nth term. Please do not forget this. We'll write them somewhere else eventually. Now, under this, we're going to give it a mathematical formula per se. So we're going to say, return, return x into the integer of math.pow. I'll explain this in a second. X into the integer of math dot power. Guys, if you've been doing math in Python, this is basically like saying raised to power. Then give it the parameters we're using, which is essentially y and n, so comma, n minus 1. Remember the formula we'd written? Remember this formula? All of this? That is this. So basically, this is this. If you've understood this, this is how we write it. So that's like the essential stuff. That's the biggest thing in this. Because after this, all you need to do is give parameters. So we're going to say here, going to say x, because we were using the 2 example, we'll start with 2. Sorry, x space equals 2, y space equals, let's say 3, sorry, 3, and then n, our nth term, let's give it 5, yeah, 5. Okay, so before I go on, let's just clarify this again. We said this is the first term, this is the common ratio, and this is the nth term. Alright guys, so these are what we are working with. Now in case you're going to need to change anything, you'll do it here. Now you'll see that in a moment. And then we just want to print what we find. So we'd say print, yes, say print v, I like to put it in a statement kind of thing, the comma space and space open bracket speech quotation and term in the series is, yeah. So what we did there is just to call the nth term there, is, and then comma, then here we just say we'll call the function, yeah. So we will just say okay, just a minute, we will just say gp into x comma space y comma space n. So essentially and basically that's that. I think with this you should be set, but just to, you know, to get a feel and to give it, we need to run it. Now I'm going to try and run it in a virtual background, for which I have said, let's say that as well, defining the path to my virtual environment. Just a second, sorry, old habits. Then we will just activate it. If you've been using Flask for a minute, I think this is like baby steps. So yeah, we've activated our virtual environment. A virtual environment, without going into it, it's just like an environment outside your computer that you can run and test with apps and code and stuff. So this is my simple thing. Later I'll make a video on this and other stuff. Just stay tuned. And yeah, so let me just confirm a few things, because I've been making a few mistakes, amateur mistakes, and I was kind of mad about it. So let me confirm this def and def gp. Yes, I knew there was something. So let's go over that again. That's okay, guys. Let's wait. What? No. Okay, sorry. Let's cross our fingers with Python. And we say gp. Gp dot py. Guys, successful. Today is the 5th term in the series is 162, and that's how you do it. Now we can go ahead and try another number. We can say 8th term. you can even change the common ratio to be like 7. Mine is on autosave, so make sure you put your code on autosave. It says the eighth term of the series is 1647086. And guys, that's how you do it. Now, if you want to change anything on the code, this is where to do it. Just make sure you understand this and this, and every other thing will flow. So remember to subscribe, and see you next time. Thank you guys. Have a blast and cheers.